Sorry, I'm getting it away from my breath because I'm breathing really hard right now. All right, I'm ready. Hi, I'm going to introduce responsive web design, why it's important, and some strategies for tackling that issue. So you don't have to read this whole thing, but the design depends largely on constraints. So the design that we're working on is constrained by the size of your viewport, the speed of your connection, and how do you optimize your web app or your website to work for everybody equally and efficiently. And so you want to just make sure that, I'm already messing, that it works for everybody. Why? So as of January 2016, there are around 7.9 billion devices and connections. That is more than there are people in the world. And there are about 1.2 billion unique users on mobile alone. And smart devices are 36% of that. So we should probably start covering that area. So normally, you have your web app. It's really awesome. You go to view it on your phone, and it's kind of terrible. So we could retroactively fit that to desktop, but that presents a whole bunch of problems where you have all your CSS styles already defined, and it's really difficult to try and like force it into the smaller box. And so now there's a new trend, mobile first, super, super trendy. There's a lot of mobile first zealots that are like, this is the way you have to do it. You definitely have to like think of it in the smallest iPhone that ever existed, and just like work from there. But that also presents problems where you are confined by that kind of thinking, and you might not be as creative when you get to your larger scale desktop sizes. So let's do both, maybe. For example, design at all breakpoints simultaneously. So pick one that's in the medium. 960 is like a good area. Think about your audience. Are they going to be using it on the go? Are they going to be using it on their computer? Is it going to be like map-based? Or just think about how your users are going to be coming into the app and decide from there the best decision for you. Don't pick desktop or mobile just because it's trendy or because it's easy. And make sure that people that are going to be using it on the phone try to figure out if those needs are going to be the same as the ones that are going to be on desktop. So how do you choose a breakpoint? Well, obviously, we want to support iPhones because iPhones are cool. And then we should probably support Android. And then maybe some tablets. And then maybe some weird stuff like Kindles and Apple Watches. And oh wait, we haven't even talked about laptops and all the different sizes that those are. So maybe this isn't the best way to think about it. Maybe don't design for the device. Maybe we should approach our content a different way instead of trying to fit it to whatever is most popular right now. Because I think 18 new devices came out in 2016, and I don't want to have to go back and rewrite my stuff every time something new comes out. So we should think of our content like water. It should fill the space that you've given it. It should be like if you pour water into a glass, it's the shape of a glass. If you pour water into a bowl, it's the shape of a bowl. So make sure that your content is reacting to how you're viewing it. And you can choose things like rocks and breakers, which are your like key pieces of content that you want to work around. So make those your priority, and then fit your stuff, your other things around that, your less important things. Not less important, but less like high priority. And focus on the relationships between different kinds of content. And when you are viewing mobile, you don't want to restrict your users. You want to make sure that they have the same access to all the content. Just reduce the density so that they're not bombarded with all of this information at once. Maybe it takes them a couple extra clicks to get to the same place, but they have all that information readily available. So I have a couple of examples. So I'm just going to skip directly to Vox, which is a lovely website. And they have this latest news, which, and they have their like key rock, and then as you resize, sometimes it doesn't load correctly, I guess, today. It has these still paired as they're the same importance, and then as you get down to phone, it decides which one is more important and works around that. And then this becomes a tertiary kind of size. It's no longer secondary size. And then we also have the New Yorker, which has really good relationships between titles and blurbs and the images. And they have different levels. And so as you resize, this still stays prominent, but they've dropped these ones down in relation to each other. And so they're maintaining that relationship of the importance of each content piece. And as you go down, then it eventually gets to like one line for each, but this is still obviously their big header item. I guess I'm going to the next slide. Ethan Moncrat, he is the guy who coined the term responsive web design, and his approach is finding the seams. So stretch your content out or shrink it down until it starts to show that it's like a little funky. And the main ways that you can approach these is by examining with hierarchy, interaction, and density. So for, go back to here. The most obvious one is line length in typography. As you zoom out, the line length just gets infinitely long, and it gets really hard to read, and it makes your eyes tired, and you're going to quit as a user. So as you just think about like maybe setting breakpoints for that. There's also hierarchy. Come on. So deciding which is more important. Is it more important for you to know what the name of the product is and how much it costs, or what you're buying? And so this person decided to show pictures of his product before that. Interaction, soccer for the Copa America. So they have their stuff defined in this like table, so you can kind of see the bracketing. And then as you go down, you're interacting with it in a different way. You're basically just trying to figure out you don't need that extra information of how the brackets are laid out. You can kind of infer that. And as a mobile user, you want that information to be more accessible in a table format. And density is here when it loads, please. Okay, I guess it's not going to. Never mind. These used to be tiny little dots, and then as they shrink, it turns into this colorful chart instead of being individual. And so you can make use of a grid system. Bootstrap comes with a 12 subgrid system, which can easily be divided into a bunch of ways, which is why it's for Bootstrap, because it will fit everybody. But consider 16 or 7 if you want to be weird. Pick one that fits for your content. Decide to hamburger or not to hamburger based on your users. Are they younger? Do they know what a hamburger is? So just ask them, do some A/B testing. Some people found that like 20% of people didn't even click on the hamburger. Strategies for navigation. I think you guys all know these. When you get small, you have a hamburger. When you get big, you have your full text. And this is a progressive navigation, so they have everything listed out here, but then as you get smaller, the more important things are still showing, but you still have access to all of those. It's just not the primary thing when you come to the site. And then images. How am I doing on time? So some images like make a big part of your website. This happens a lot, where you throw an image in and it doesn't fit the space that you want it to fill. You can handle it with max width. You can also handle it with cover, which is a way that a lot of people handle background images. And then also think about your pixel density. So your Retina screens and iPhone 6 Pluses have made things a little bit more complicated than they used to be. And so now you can serve up images. I think I have a picture that explains this a little bit better. Here we go. So this is like 1 pixel. 1 pixel equals 1 pixel. 1 pixel equals 4, because it's twice as much, versus 3. So as you get more pixel density, things get smoother. But then if you're serving smaller images, you're going to have unexpected results. And so instead, there's this handy little thing in your image tag called a source set, where you can define when it's 2 times or when it's 3 times which image to show. And then that way it works good. It looks good for everybody. Additional strategies, you also all know this, graceful degradation. Make sure that as you take away enhancements, it still works. And then also try to reduce your HTTP load with combining, minifying, and compressing your files. You can also do that with images with spriting. That's a whole other topic. And then these are my resources. You should look into these. These are really great places to find tips on what the latest thing is because it changes every week. That's it.